Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Michael Wulf, and today is September 17th. And I'm 2 weeks into a personal training regimen that I kind of waited to do this video because I didn't want to start like many times and then you get a tough weekend or you fall off the wagon trying to eat incorrectly and try to you don't exercise, or there's a lot of don'ts, a lot of self-talk, a lot of negative self-talk, matter of fact. And I waited 2 weeks to talk to you about this because it's a very personal and a very very important mission to me. And it's also something that I have failed at probably hundreds of times, and I wouldn't even be exaggerating, trying to lose weight, best intentions, and what is this, 2019, and let's see, 30 years of New Year's resolutions that have gone awry. So there's 30 right there, plus who knows the countless number of times during the year you try to lose weight. So this message is really to all those people that are a little bit heavier, or maybe they're just out of shape, they look good but they don't necessarily have the energy or the strength, or you have a bad diet, whatever negative things that you think about, or your self-image or whatever. I guess like many of the folks that get on these videos and say something, be encouraged, stay encouraged, and do your work. One of the things that I had a chance to do today is interview my personal trainer, Lucienne Olson, and she shared some information about what she thought I was approaching her and seeking a personal trainer. Now, let me give you a little bit of backstory is, I work like everybody that has maybe some peaks and valleys of stresses, but I started logging my weight and my calorie intake on my Fitness Pal. Excuse me, I just got done working out, riding this incumbent bike for 30 minutes. That's my workout right now. I hadn't planned on doing anything more. So when I say workout, I'm not like pumping 300 pounds and bench pressing like some of these guys, but find out what her perspective is on why I, sought out a personal trainer. Anyway, long story short is, I think having someone there with the discipline and the focus, and yeah, they're getting paid to be a personal trainer, they're getting paid to do these things, but there's also a quality of service. So some personal trainers, they get you in, it's all rah-rah, it's testosterone, it's like you can do it, pump you up and all that kind of stuff. And that's good and fine, but my need was more psychological, more emotional, more than, in addition to being physical, but I'm also willing to not have, the beach body, summer beach body phenomena that's been going on. I just want to be healthy and live longer. I want to not have midday valleys where I'm running out of energy. And all of that really ties to your diet and basic exercise. And as you all know, I move around a lot and I go through a lot of fast foods and make a lot of bad choices in foods. So having someone also help you understand truly the nutrition. So even though you think you're eating light or eating certain things, or you might have a cheat day, or have a sliver of pie or something like that, it really boils down to the discipline of being able to stop and not consume as much, but more importantly, consume the right things. I can tell you right now, I'm eating far less, but I'm eating better quality, affordable, better quality, because I think that's really important. Is a lot of times you get into these fads, these diets where you go and buy all these mixtures and you have these 10, 20-day successes, and then as soon as you eat a real piece of food, then your body goes back to hell, basically, because it's trained to absorb and keep all these different types of fats and whatnot in your body. I'm no nutritionist, obviously, but I do know this, is that if you find a workout buddy, if you find somebody that can help you be on a personal journey, in my particular situation, I had to, I looked at my habits, and so the amount of money that I spend on fast foods and random foods, or even entertainment, you look at, going out with the fellas or the frat brothers, or, whatever it may be, if you just carved off maybe a sliver of what you spend there, that can be invested into yourself. And so I'm at an age now where it's literally do or die. I'm watching, my parents, one of them's gone, the other one is, in a situation where she's still vibrant and feisty and all that, but you just never know. So I want to be around to be able to be healthy and take care of them, bottom line, and as well as my grandkids, and be able to go run with the grandkids instead of just sitting on a chair while they run around me, or push me in a wheelchair to go see Mount Rushmore and stuff when I get to be that age. I can't go out that way. But for those of us that have that second chance, for those of us that have an opportunity to make that correction, that's what this message is really about. So I asked Lucy, as they call her, what was her perspective on my journey and when we first started. So let's hear what she has to say. And definitely the goal is not, bodybuilding or heavy weights or anything, but basic health. But in the gym can also mean just coming in, 100%. Having a discipline, and having some type of focus in on, your exercise. So.
For surely. And so while you talk about time too, is like there was a couple sessions where you're like, I'm doing 30 minutes, and it was 30.02. Done. But like the second time that you,
30 minutes.
It's okay. But the second time that you came in, like after you had that experience with breathing and you felt confident in like getting on the bike and moving again, there was a time where it was like 45 minutes and you were like, oh, I didn't want to get off until you came back.
Right.
And I was so happy because it was like the second or third time, and you killed it. And so like also just in tracking like your different sessions, you're improving and you're increasing in all of those sessions, whether it's the amount of time, the power output, the distance. So from there, my trainer's brain sees how that is in the gym, because from there we're gonna start stretching on the bike. We're gonna start doing body weight stuff against the wall. We're gonna start easing our way into the gym, and whatever that looks like for you is like it would look like for any athlete or for anyone achieving a personal fitness. Everything is available to you at that point. So I'm thrilled with your progress.
All right. I think the one thing that resonates from that message for me is that I had to be willing to share details of my consumption habits. And so having to, be honest and open and fair about what I actually eat. We all have for people that eat, they call them closet eaters or whatever, where you eat way too much and then you're embarrassed and then you feel bad and then then your clothes don't fit right, and then it's like a very negative repeating downward cycle. And so we don't have to be like that. We don't have to beat ourselves up. We can all feel good about where we're at in this life, about how you look, and no matter what your size. I truly don't believe that every human being was built the same way, but we also want to have a certain level of health and comfort in the things that we do. So I asked Lucy some other questions, so check these out. Yep, so we talked about exercise or being in the gym, but what about being in your body? I mean, what can you share a little bit about, from a personal trainer's perspective, what the whole intake and how that balance helps you in the gym or just helps you in life?
Yeah, so I guess for nutrition, we had to start with becoming aware. So that was step one. And being able to track, being able to log, being able to acknowledge and think about the things that we're consuming and how those things balance out. So if we're talking about from a calories perspective, of calories in, calories out, it's important to know that we're in a deficit, right, when we want to lose weight. But what are those calories coming from? Are those calories giving us the energy that we need? Are they giving us the sleep that we need, the recovery from our gym sessions? All of those things are important. So for you, for nutrition, we started with just like water, but that very quickly evolved into like what kinds of proteins you're eating, what kind of carbs you're eating, how much of those things that you're eating. And I believe the hardest part about nutrition, or starting this nutrition journey with someone, is the tracking. I know that, and unfortunately that's the first step. So that's what breaks a lot of people's, I can't say progress, but even your confidence in wanting to start, because it's such a daunting task. In nutrition, there's so much of it, and if you're like any person that likes to know that you're doing things right and doing things like the best way, you look at these charts in your phone and you're like, oh my god, and I'm overwhelmed, and that everything kind of gets thrown out the window. So going back to like your readiness and your seriousness to start and do it the right way, you were digesting like all of our forms. You were like starting to read through all of those different things, and starting to become aware and do your own research, so that you could come to me with really amazing questions every week, which I'm so grateful for, because if there are things that I don't know, I can find out. But I mean, I think it makes the whole experience that much more rich, because then you're able to go back into your life in all of these hours that I'm not around and draw your own conclusions and start to like connect the dots. And that's a part of that self-talk, or that's a part of the confidence that's needed to keep progressing forward and get past like a barrier or that wall that you might have hit over and over and over again in the past.
And I think for me it was once I started tracking to the, there's a difference between tracking everything that you ate and then not really looking at what you ate. And so like, I think it's probably safe to say that I used MyFitnessPal.
Yep.
It was just easy, it's free, it was convenient, but I was always tracking what I ate, and whenever I'd lose weight, I'd lose 10 pounds, or and then like you said, I'd bounce back. But I never really understood the difference between it's not an intellectual thing, it's more of an emotional, intellectual thing. Like you said, getting the mental state right was that once I started looking at what foods I was consuming, and then like how those broke down into fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, and then like trying to create a balance. Even if you just ate a third, and a third, I mean, you have it calibrated differently for me a little bit, but even if you just made sure you had that, after I started looking at like a drive-through, it wasn't the fact that I went through a drive-through, it was the quality of the foods that need to be processed by your body to maintain or lose weight is really what it was. So it wasn't really a situation of like you can't go through a fast food, it's not what you can, it's like what do you want to do to really seriously lose the weight.
Definitely.
And so one kind of fascinating thing for me is, you did highlight after 2 weeks in I did have some, fair progress, but and I know I'm downplaying it, but everybody is different. My particular situation, after I started doing my tracking, even when I was eating bad, I could see, looking back at that report, there was like a big spike the week after. I had a ramped up, but a week after I spiked, I gained 5 or 10 pounds. And then, it slowly trickled down, but it never dropped below a certain point. Can you just share a little bit about the importance of what you do as a personal trainer and how you can help people get over that particular psychological or hump?
Definitely.
Or is it amalgamation of
everything? Definitely. So actually the metaphor that I normally use is like a thermostat. So like our body is set at this thermostat, right? And we're at this set point. So it's like if something happens and the thermostat breaks and the temperature drops, everything in the system is going to do what it needs to do to turn it back on and bring it back to that point. And it kind of works in both directions. So I think for a lot of people it's hard to realize that this is you're not just losing weight, you have to release that weight, like truly. So you have to provide the environment, which if you're talking about nutrition and like the quality of our foods, you have to provide this environment that is health on all levels to lose that weight. So like what are you giving yourself, like you said, for your energy, for your sleep, for your cravings? I think as a trainer's job is to come in and not only educate somebody on all of these different things, but it's also to be able to be the person outside that can take all of these toggles, because exercise is a toggle, nutrition is a toggle, all of these things are just different parts of like a combination, and be able to scale back in the places that need to be scaled back, and to be able to push harder in the places that need to be pushed harder. But it's in those moments of like when your body wants to kick back on and bring you back to the set point, whether it's emotionally, whether it's physically, whether it's because you worked really hard in the gym and so you're craving extra calories that day. Like there's so many reasons, but to be that outside person that can take a look at the big picture and then figure out what to do. I also think it's really important to have a relationship with your clients. So like I don't think any trainer that helps someone achieve or walks with someone as they achieve something great is because that they didn't have that kind of communication with them. So I think trust goes both ways, and you have to trust in me, I have to trust in you, but like you have to trust in what you're doing overall. Like you have to believe in what you're doing in the method. So yeah, that's why I think that's why I believe a trainer is helpful in those times, and to like really encourage you, because like you said, if before you were tracking and in the back of your head, you know, calories are important, but you're going to get these foods that are extremely calorie dense, whether it's from a gas station or a fast food place, then there's also something in the back of your mind that's like, oh my God, I'm eating too much. And so then it's also the point of like where a trainer can come in and say, well, if you're eating 1,200 calories, first of all, that's not enough to sustain for you anyways, but also what happens to a diet then? And what happens to our mindset? Like eventually we're just gonna be eating 500 calories in water. Like, and that's not, I mean, those are part of the thoughts and like the foundation of what we believe is like necessary to achieve something bigger. And that's not necessarily true.
Very good. All right. Well, week 2. So we'll see what happens here. Maybe every other week or so.
Week 3.
This is week 3. Yeah, it is week 3. All right.
And massive progress.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate all your advice. And one thing that I didn't really think about that actually was a side benefit was the communication piece of it. You know, and it's just like in business, right?
Absolutely.
Where you have a customer and you're supposed to, communicate with the customer. You can't just say, here's what you need to do, and then I'll see you every 3 days, even if it was just that. So, when you're in crisis mode, it's like, hey, I got to make a decision, or I got to do this. Do you have any advice on traveling?
Yep.
Or something like that. So.
And half the time, I'm really encouraging you to do something that you already know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, usually there are things like you know what to do, like, or that confidence, like you can, but I'm just like that reminder for you.
Yep. All right, very good. Well, thank you, and we'll catch you next time.
Okay.
So there you have it. We're at the end of the initial check-in vlog, if you will, for Dr. Michael Wulf's journey to 50 pounds by August of 2020. So I'm going to leave the details out if I feel brave enough about putting the subtitles in. I'll wait to surprise everybody with the beginning weight, the after weight, the beginning pictures, and the after pictures. So many of you may see me along the way, but I thought I would at least capture this point in time to see, 2 weeks in, starting my 3rd week, is this going to be it? Am I going to be able to make it through these stressful peaks and valleys? And that's a tough, it's rough. So we'll see what happens here. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll check in with you very soon.